Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Grace Pathway Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Roberts, and we got another good one for you today. Before we jump in, as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave a comment. We want to know what God's doing. We know that people are being blessed by this, and it's always encouraging when I get to talk to people. They're like, man, it was so cool, the story of what God has done in that person's life. So we got another amazing story today. I've invited my good friend Kyson to come and spend some time. Welcome, man. Welcome to the pod. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Yeah?
I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
Don't be nervous. No, it'll be good. For those of you who don't know Kyson, Kyson, man, you're kind of everywhere. You primarily live in our junior high world. You are junior high assistant, coordinator. You kind of are the backbone, but you also are up front, teaching, leading, getting the hype guy for games. And you've been kind of Pastor Aiden's right-hand man. Now you're stepping into it with Pastor Connor as Connor steps in that transition, which is going to be awesome. But you also help out in high school. You're one of our young adults. You're one of our drummers at Pathway.
Love it here, dude.
You're like all in. But that's awesome. And you got a girlfriend now?
Yes.
She's
awesome.
Shout out to young adults. If you don't have a girlfriend, you're a young adult, come to young adults, you might walk away with one. That's not why we
That's
do
where
it.
I did.
No, we always encourage the best place to meet people is at church, right? It's the best place. So, hey, today, obviously you want to dive into more of your story, but let's start before you got to Pathway. Let's go BC, but B Pathway, BP, before Pathway. What was life like for you? Did you grow up in a Christian home? I know you got siblings. Tell me about your fam.
That's a good question. So before Pathway, I lived down in Fresno.
Oh, Fresno.
So,
Okay.
Far away. Yes.
Did you enjoy Fresno life?
I don't know. We moved up here when I was 5.
Okay,
and
so you don't really
everything
remember
was
Fresno.
sunshine and rainbows really before you're 5,
You weren't missing much, but yes.
No, so moved up here when we were 5 because my dad had a lot of money in the stock market.
Okay.
And when the stock market crashed in 2008, this was the only area where he had a job offer. And so we just by chance came up here. We weren't necessarily Christian. I guess we went to like a Catholic church every once in a while.
So you're raised Catholic every once in a while?
Raised Catholic, yeah. And then we came up here, and I think it was kind of the catalyst for us to find some sort of hope in moving up here. And so we church hopped for a little bit, but we eventually found neighborhood church or Pathway Church.
Right.
And found this as our home when I was like 6 years old.
Okay, so talk to me about that. I mean, growing up and being raised in a Catholic and going to Mass and all, it's very different than neighborhood back then.
Way different.
So what was like the deciding factor to go like, okay, we're going to move to neighborhood, aka Pathway? What was that decision based on? That's
a good question. I think it was a lot like my mom. My mom really wanted to find a home for us. She cares about us a lot, and my dad does too. But she really wanted to find us some sort of church home. And we went all around and we tried a bunch of different churches. And we liked them, but Pathway we were really able to call our home.
Wow. Really what was it about Pathway that kind of like made it easy to call it home?
I think we enjoyed it in the student ministry. Like me and my brother and my sister, we really got in there and we got into the group. And we loved it. We loved the leaders. We loved the kids there. We loved how they did the games and the sermon and the worship. And I think my mom saw that and she was like, okay.
So it was because of the youth ministries, the kid ministries that really got you guys in, and that ultimately led to you guys staying and being a part of that now for, what are we going on, like 16, 17 years, something like that?
17 years,
Crazy. So you've kind of only known Pathway. What's it like not necessarily being a pastor's kid, but being brought up in Pathway since a little kid, and now you're a young adult, and now you're choosing to come to Pathway?
Yeah. No, it's awesome because a lot of the kids that I started at Pathway with are the same people I grew up with, like Cedric and Tyler and Ethan. Like I've been able to grow up with them and be in the church with them, which has been huge.
Right.
Because you build this huge community aspect.
Okay.
And so it's been awesome. And then leaders I've been able to grow up with as well. So I love it.
Yeah. So for you, okay, so you were raised kind of Catholic and then came to neighborhood. When did the light bulb go off for you? When did you say, I want to get saved, and you can remember that day? When was that for you?
It's funny. I can't remember the day, but I do remember the pastor. His name was Ben. And I remember we were sitting in, I think what now is I don't know what the room's called, but it says "You have a great God" on it, and has 3 TVs in it. Yeah, I was sitting in that room on one of the big color benches, and I remember when I was 5 or 6 is when I prayed to receive Christ.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and just like the light bulb was like, this is what I want. Makes sense. This is.
Yeah, I mean, it did. It's just the welcoming communal aspect to it. Like, I remember the pastor cared about us so much. Like, one of the things, there were these bucks that you had as a currency. And if you saved up all your bucks, which I did for like 2 years when I was in the kids ministry thing, you could get the pastor to bring you lunch at your school.
Oh,
and
dang.
he brought me Taco Bell, and he played out on the playground with me. And I remember that was just awesome. It was my favorite thing.
Talk about coming and meeting you where you were.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ben, our old kids pastor. I remember Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yep.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Man, I mean, I think that's the fact that he was willing to show up and be present, and you felt known, seen, and cared for at such a young age.
Yeah.
By somebody who loves the Lord. I mean, it's now led into, I think, to where it makes it's interesting now hearing that and now knowing what you're all about.
Yes.
It's very similar.
Well, it's crazy because that's such a simple thing, coming and bringing food to a kid at lunch and just hanging out with them.
Right.
But it's something that still has like an impact on me to this day.
Right.
Because knowing that feeling that I had, the feeling of, wow, this guy cares about me.
Right.
I can give that to another kid,
Right.
and serving. It's pretty awesome. It's something
Yeah.
that keeps me going. And
So
serving.
good.
Yeah.
So you have this great leader. You get saved. He brings you lunch. He's out at recess playing with you. Was there any time in high school or even junior high where you're like, did you have any doubts about your faith, or was it ever like, I'm not sure that I made the right decision, or was it like, man, I'm surrounded by such great people, like you were kind of landlocked a little bit?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like everybody has doubts. Like this world, it's broken. It can throw things at you. And of course you're like, well, if God's so good, why did that happen to me? And there's sometimes things like that. I mean, I was picked on a little bit in junior high and a few things in that kind of area, and it sucked. But I think in the end, it was something that built me up.
Totally.
And it's kind of like the typical thing to say. Sticks and stones make your bones or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. But it honestly is. It's something that builds your faith.
Like, I would say this: it can build your faith. It can also break you.
Yeah.
Like you can use it. I know so many people that have been hurt by the church or people in the church, and it's that they use that as their outlet to be like, nah, it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
But I love what you said. Like, yeah, I got picked on in junior high, and that's funny. That's the age group that you spend the most time with pouring into.
Yeah, it's such a pivotal. I feel like it's such a pivotal time in a kid's life. It's junior high.
Yeah.
Because kindergarten through 5th, I feel like you're still a kid, but when you hit junior high, you're starting to grow up a little bit, and you're starting to make those adult-like decisions,
right?
And you're starting to have a little bit of responsibility.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's really cool if you can hit kids young and at that age and instill stuff in them.
And I'm finding out with my own daughter approaching junior high, and she's very excited to be with you, by the way.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. She's been we've been around the junior hires and the junior high camp. My oldest has got a few years, but she's like, when do I get to like go be with Kyson and the guy? I was like,
yeah.
I said a couple years, honey. And she's like, she's like, we're ready for it. Yeah. But I'm realizing now that a lot of our junior hires, they're aging faster than they were when we were.
Oh yeah, with like phones and TikTok and Instagram.
It's crazy.
It's
wild. And the kids that are coming to junior high are not your. I think when we think of typical junior hires, these are junior hires are dealing with a lot of brokenness. Family dynamics are just rough. Some of them are just like finding rides to get to church.
A lot of them just walk. They'll walk to church and they'll get to youth group like an hour early, and I see them walking around.
Yeah,
and it's cool that we can provide them kind of a safe space.
Yeah,
So
tell me, I don't remember this because you were on staff before I came back to Pathway. What was that transition? I mean, did you graduate high school and then like immediately go, cool, I'm going to work at the church, or was there an opportunity presented to you? Like, walk me through that time.
When I was in high school, I was all into law enforcement. I really wanted to go into law enforcement, every aspect of it. I joined RPD's pre-academy.
Okay.
And I was in there for 4 years, and it was just constant weekly training for certain things and doing certain things. And I promoted to captain, and that's what I was like into. That's what I was gonna do.
You want to be
I wanted to be a police officer.
Yeah, police officer.
Yeah. And so I went all into that. And then senior year came around, and Aiden and Chris were doing an internship opportunity for students. And they were like, hey, we would love to have you on this. It would be awesome. And I was like, I don't really have time for it. And I pushed it away, I pushed it away. But it doesn't take long to get that kind of conviction where it's like, dude, come on. This is something you can do and make an impact in other people. And I feel like for me, it was because junior high and senior high for me was so impactful for me.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I started to dive into junior high, was after that internship opportunity.
Right. What was the internship like? Because I think internships can be really like I think sometimes people feel like, an internship, I got to bring the people coffee, I got to just do a lot of busy work. But what did you discover during the internship with junior high and high school?
Well, I discovered that I kind of actually liked kids, because I didn't think I liked kids. I was like, these kids,
yeah, man,
they stink, they're crazy.
Which is, there's a lot of truth, but we all were kids at some point. So
yeah, no, I was like, it's just something extra, but just, I don't know, it's being able to be a kid. I mean, Jesus talks about it, like be like this child in your faith, And so it's when you can go out there and just be a kid and experience that again. It's kind of like a nostalgic throwback for me in junior high.
Right.
And to just be a positive influence for somebody is, oh my gosh, it's beyond what words can describe.
Right. So you're doing this internship and you're serving and you're enjoying it. And then did something like go, man, I love this so much, and the opportunity get presented later? Or when was the time when you're going from an intern to now you're on staff?
Oh, that's a good question. I was an intern for probably a year, close to a year.
Okay.
And I would always just come in early on my days off and help set up, because I loved doing it. It was just something that I loved to do. And it kind of came to a point where Aiden was like, oh, man, we'd love to have you here. I need an assistant. Because I'd always see Aiden. He'd set up so early, and I'd feel bad, and so I'd come help him, And I was like, oh, I'd love to do that. And he offered me the job, and best decision I ever made.
That's cool. So you've been Aiden's right-hand guy now for how long?
A little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years. Yeah. Wow. And in that time, you've gotten to kind of do almost every part of everything. When it comes to administration. What were some of the things that you stepped into that you're like, I did not have any clue I'd be doing this?
Oh, a whole bunch. I thought I would just be setting up stuff, tearing down stuff.
Okay.
But it came to the point where Aiden wanted me speaking. He wanted me designing games and designing different things and coming up with different ideas for the kids and different activities for them to get involved in, like the spring retreat or summer camp.
Right.
I mean, everything. He's been awesome with giving me leadership opportunities and just giving me a hand in everything.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. I not only have I been able to serve and learn a lot, but I feel like I've been able to grow because there's just so much I've had to, I've been given the opportunity to put my hands into.
Which is huge. And I think shout out to Aiden, for being a good leader that's strong in who he is, to not feel insecurity of here's this young cool guy that's got this engine, and I'm gonna let him I'm gonna keep him on ropes, but I'm also gonna give him a platform to be used by God in a really powerful way. No. Sometimes leaders aren't naturally good at that.
That's huge, and that's something that taught me too, because I would always be a person who wanted to get everything done myself.
Okay.
And so I that's what I had to learn very quickly. Get leaders involved, get kids involved in the games, bring them up on stage, have them get that opportunity that you have.
Yeah. Well, it's cool when that Aiden was able to model that it's not about you, really ministry is you've already been saved, when now that we're serving, we have an opportunity to help somebody else, find and follow God. And I find so often we can make ministry so much about us. It feels good to serve.
Man. Yeah.
Oh, I like the way when people are paying attention, or the attaboys or things like that. But really, at the end of the day, ministry is not about us. Mm-hmm. And there's something really powerful about when that light bulb goes off and you're like, oh, I need to get more people who think it's not about us, but we care so much about those who don't know yet.
Yeah.
It's powerful and it's contagious, and it becomes this energy that's I love it so much.
Yeah. And I feel like you receive more than you could have ever asked when you just give up and just give.
Right.
And you're not going into it get something out of it.
Totally. I mean, that's what Pastor Bill, he tells us all the time. Like, we serve from blessing, not for blessing.
Yeah.
And that only comes when you really understand your identity in Christ and your riches in Christ, which you guys just did a whole camp on, which was cool to hear. And you had people at that camp that, you know, I think everyone's going to camp. It's a spiritual high. Everyone's saved, but how many people get saved at camp or at spring retreat?
We had six.
Dude, that's crazy. And then another 16 on Wednesday.
Yeah, just yesterday.
literally last night, 16 students get saved. I mean, come on. It's just powerful to see what God's doing in junior high. But I also know, I think it was maybe like a year ago, we went out, we hung out, and you started talking to me about like, you've been doing junior high, things are going really great there, but there was still this passion in you for law enforcement.
Yeah. I feel like after a while, since I was in it for so long, it became my identity. It became who I was.
Right.
And my prayers always then, and my mindset then, was, God, help me do good in this area of my life. Help me do good in law enforcement. Help me do good in this and then in that. And that was really tough because it brought a lot of pressure on me. And when things didn't go the way they should have been going with that, or I faced some confrontation with that, it really hurt because that's what I found my worth and my purpose in. And so that became tough for a while.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you're going to, sorry.
No, you go, you talk. Yeah. It's good.
No, it became that for a while. And I applied for CHP, California Highway Patrol, and it's a pretty intense process. You have to do physical testing, you have to do a written test, you have to do a psychological evaluation, which is 800 questions. You're sitting in there with 3 investigators for hours, and they ask you all these questions. Right. Would you join a traveling clown college? Do you love your mom? Like, you're like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to say that. Yes, I do. But it was questions like that, and then you have to get medically tested and all these different things. And I finally got through this entire evaluation. It was 7 months, and only 0.5% of people get accepted. And I got the letter in the mail that said I got accepted.
Dude, that's huge.
Yeah, it was huge, but it kind of I don't know. It was huge, but it kind of made me examine my own heart in a way. Like, is this okay? This is going to be real now. Because in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, you know, I probably won't make it. Or I'm only 21, you know.
Right.
I'm not the toughest guy ever or whatever. Yeah. And so it was kind of the catalyst when I was getting towards the end of the process, and I kind of knew that I was going to get in. I met with Josh one day, Pastor Josh. And I was telling him, hey, I'm really nervous about this. You know, I'm scared for what I'm going to go into. I don't know my future. I don't know if I'm good enough for it, was kind of my whole thing. And he was like, hey, just change your thought process and your prayer life from, God, help me to do good in this and to move in this and be enough for this to be, and change it to, God, help me to see who I am and be who I am and be who you created me to be.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. And it changed my whole thought process, my whole prayer life and everything. Because that was my identity. You know, it was CHP. Yeah. And there were a couple times where I fell back in the process and it just sucked. And then when I was getting close to getting accepted, I was coming to terms with, oh my gosh, I'm going to be doing this. Right. And it really changed me for the better. And that's when I started to think, you know what, ministry is my thing. You know, it's when I started to dive more into that and started to pray, God, help me in that. It really changed my mindset.
Wow.
To that angle. It was really helpful.
To ask that question of, God, help me be the best version of me right where you have me.
Yeah.
It's powerful. Yeah. And, you know, I think I want to applaud you, though, man, because I feel like sometimes people are so scared of failure that they'll never pursue those passions and those desires that are in you, right? And like that a desire to serve and desire to help others, which is characteristics for ministry, which also have characteristics for CHP, is a big heart integrity thing that you carry. Which is not, and both ministry and CHP are both really good things.
Yeah.
It's not like you're chasing off, leaving one potentially good thing to go some really
Yeah.
terrible life choice. Like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that, Kyson. We're all really worried. This was like potentially a really good thing, but also you were in a really good thing. What was it for you that was like, man, that's a tough place to be as far as making a decision. What was it for you that made it finally go, I got into CHP, man, this is awesome. This is where I'm headed, but now I actually don't want that. I actually want to stay right where I'm at.
I started to examine my heart and what I actually wanted. And the pros of CHP is you pay a good chunk of money, you know. You paid a good chunk of money and you get to go be a cop. It's pretty cool. But where was my heart at with that, you know? And I kind of found where my heart was at in ministry when I began the internship when I came on staff. And my heart was there and I loved it. I mean, it was something that I came in on my off time and did.
Yeah.
You know? And it's an incredible opportunity to go into CHP. But I feel like it's where I can make the best impact on other kids.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of prayer. Don't get me wrong.
Totally.
Yeah.
But to get to that place where, I mean, I like to use the words like you're fighting to say your best yes.
Yeah.
Because CHP would have been a great yes. But, and again, it's not like that door is forever shut. You know, you're only 21. Like if that's something that God changes your direction, he opens up, hey, I could still go back into this.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. But the fact that God has you right here doing something that you love is also like powerful. But I just wanted to say, dude, it's been so cool to watch you go through this because, like I said earlier, most people are so afraid of failure they're not even willing to apply.
Yeah.
They're not even willing to put themselves out there. They're so comfortable in what they know, even if what they know is full of pain, it's full of not healthy routines or rhythms. Like it's just not a good fit. People get so attached to that because it's comfortable. Yeah. And this was a step into what was not comfortable and potentially leading you away from all that you knew into something completely new.
Yeah.
And I love that you were able to get to that place of, all right, if this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing. And if it's not, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much more to life and your purpose than being comfortable, I think.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people stop because it's just easy. And there's just so much you're missing out on if you stop where it's easy.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. I tend to find that most of the things that are the most right things in your life are not the most easy things. They require a little bit of hardship, sacrifice, pursuit because things aren't just handed, they're not handed out, And you recently just made this decision to go, I'm going to be all in here. I don't even know what all in here fully means, but right now that means I'm faithful and I'm going to be still serving. And by the way, you had a whole staff that was like, we want what's best for you.
Yeah.
Obviously we'd be hurting. We'd miss to have Kyson with us, but at the end of the day, we still stand by, hey, if that's what God is leading you to. We want what's best for your life.
Well, I think something I found interesting too is ministry was never my first choice, and everything. So when I was in high school, I was like, I didn't think I liked kids. And when I was going into CHP, I thought that was my thing. I was like, that's my route. And there was a verse I read in Hebrews recently, Hebrews 7:25. It talks about how God intercedes for us. Yeah. And when I prayed to receive Christ when I was younger, when I was 5, I have God with me, and so the Bible says he's going to intercede with me because he saved me completely. Right. And I always went through, it's what I do. I need to move and get stuff done, which, don't get me wrong, you got to do something. You got to get out of your comfort zone.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
But God opens so many doors. If you move, yeah. Right. And if you just decide to go down the easy route or the route that's, I don't know, in your tunnel vision. Right. I feel like you can miss out on a lot, and I'm just very thankful that he intercedes for me and he opens up those doors. Yeah,
that's so good. Okay, what would you say to somebody who? That's one of my favorite questions to ask people because you just got out of that journey where it was a long process. Like you said, a lot of questions, a lot of references, a lot of people, a lot of prayer, a lot of time spent getting. And really having to say a really hard no to say your greater yes, and to have that peace to like still walk forward in what God has for you.
Yeah.
What would you say to somebody that's maybe wrestling with, maybe they're timid or they're scared of the unknown, little Elsa into the unknown. They're a little hesitant of like, but I feel like I have this passion in me, but I don't know if it's what's best. What would you say to someone who is maybe at that place? Because as a young adult, I'll preface like this: as a young adult, there's so much pressure on you guys, right out of high school until you're married with kids to really go like, what are you doing with your life? And that question is like terrible because everyone has different passions, different abilities, different desires. And what I've learned is that God cares about the desires of your heart because he's the one who put them in you. So what would you say to someone who's maybe another young adult or maybe a high schooler or a junior higher who's going to watch this, or maybe even someone who's older who's maybe in a season of change? What would you encourage them with, or what would you say to them in regards to how to navigate this season?
I would say move. Do what you want to do. Don't stay stagnant in undecisiveness. I think that's exactly where the devil wants you. Even if you do go down a route that's not where God wants you in the end, even if you think it's right, like with me with CHB, you're going somewhere and God will intercede for you in there. He will open up a door for you if he says, hey, no, buddy, try going this way.
Right.
But don't stay still. Don't stay still in this undecisiveness, because that's where the devil, he doesn't want you to go anywhere. He doesn't want you to grow.
Right.
And even if it's the wrong door and you go down it, I promise you, it's so much better than not doing anything at all.
Yeah. I love that you said that God's with you. I mean, we've talked about that a number of times on the pod, is like, when you're walking with God, he's walking with you. Yeah. And even if he has to shut doors or you made a bad decision, and he's still there with you, like, and he's going to get you, and there's more of a chance to rely on him. And what about in this decision of doing this? I know that you didn't do it alone. You're saying move. What about the power of church? How would you say, was the church important in this decision for you? Was there people backing you, praying for you? Like, what was that? What was the importance of having people in your corner as well? Oh yeah. I mean, everyone at the church supported me wherever I was going to go. And I feel like you need that. Even though I didn't go into CHP, they still supported me and said, hey, great job for going into CHP, or keep moving in this route. They were all supportive of me. And I think the communal aspect is huge. Yeah. And that's something that sometimes we can get scared of. Like, I don't want to join a small group. I don't know anyone in there. But I feel like that's such a big part, because you can hear what people have to say about you from like an outside perspective, and you can kind of get outside yourself for a minute when you talk to other people. That's good. And it doesn't that's not to replace your time with God and your pursuit of I'm praying and I'm the one who's actually moving, like you said, but it's to have I think some markers and some guardrails, like you said. You mentioned a few names, Aiden, Pastor Josh, of just people who are just in your corner, not telling you to make decisions or do this, but just like, hey, how can we pray for you and encourage you as you're discovering more of what God has for you. Yeah, and I don't think God has like a plan for you that he put in a vault and closed it up and that's set in stone. Right. Like if you God gave you a desire and a heart and a will. If you want to do something and you prayed about it and it sounds like an amazing thing for you, go do it. Yeah. Don't be worried that it's the wrong thing or you're going to mess up. Yeah. You gotta keep moving. That's it, man. Yeah, dude, keep moving, bro. Well, I love you, bro, and I'm so ecstatic that God has you here, and it's been so powerful to watch you just continue to step into all the unknowns. And I think you live it out. I mean, you're just a mover, like you're a mover and shaker, bro. You're never sitting still. And I love it because you're always I've never thrown something your way and you've been like, no. You're always like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a shot. I was nervous coming on here. I was like, oh shoot. You're like, I haven't done anything crazy. I'm like, dude. But sometimes that's like that's exactly what people need to hear though, is like, hey, even if you haven't done crazy and God honors that, man. Yeah, no, even if you feel like you don't have this huge testimony, which I know a lot of kids do because they grew up in the church or because their parents are still together or they haven't been through something, they haven't experienced a death or whatever. That's a huge testimony. Yeah, it's a huge testimony, but
don't think that you're insignificant or you can't make an impact because of that.
Totally.
You know.
Yeah. Well, what I was saying is it's even sometimes even a greater testimony of resilience and discipline to not enter into a lot of the self-inflicted pain choices that we can easily do.
Yeah.
You know, like bad relationships or, you know, substance abuse, things like that, that a lot of people, we can naturally do that. But the fact that you've veered away from so much of that, and I think the devil...
It wasn't easy.
No, it's not, dude.
No.
But that needs to be shouted from the mountaintops. Like, this is not easy, but this is what God's best is. And I'm fighting for what God's best is in my life. And man, I think the example that you have set for so many young people to go like, hey, I have a friend in my life named Kyson, and Kyson's who's older than me. You know, he's lived his life like this, and he doesn't have all the answers, but he's able to just go away from that stuff when the world says it's just go towards it. It's easy, and you're like, nah, I'm gonna choose something else, man.
Yeah.
I think we need to celebrate that more. I mean, it's cool that there's God's grace in the midst of all the pain that people will choose and all the stuff that people do, you know, on the other side of that. However, I still think there are so many amazing stories of God's grace that have been shown throughout your life that have kept you away from those things that can really derail you.
Yeah, and those things, they're easy. They're comfortable.
Yeah, that's it.
But if you settle for easy and comfortable, you're missing out.
Yeah, man.
You are missing out. You're missing out on going to the spring retreat where you're spending 16 hours a day setting up things, tearing down things, and working for these kids and making a difference in their lives.
And seeing one kid come to know Jesus, or seeing one kid take a step forward of like breakthrough and like, or step into maturity, or step into adulthood, or step into, I mean, now you're getting to see a lot of the fruit of the seeds that have been sown for so many years because you've been a part of it for so long.
And it all started when, you know, we talked about how kids prayed to receive Christ. It all started when I did that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's exponential.
Dude, I love that, bro. Well, thank you for taking time out of your week to come and share your story, bro. And I know God's got a big plan in store, and we're continuing just to pray and to see with a great excitement what God's doing in your life, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, bro.